Hello and welcome to Educational Specifications Virtual Workshop number 2 for Chaparral Middle School. I'm Molly Smith from Think Smart Planning, and I'll be your planning consultant leading this workshop. Workshop number 1 covered learning context and learning process. And in between workshop number 1, we had interviews with individual groups and individual research that we will incorporate into this workshop today. Today we'll be covering learning organization and learning environment. We'll also be looking at a virtual tour of some middle schools around the country, and we'll be asking you to take some survey questions along the way. As you recall, the educational specifications overall process steering committee work involves community input, research of peers, best practices, prior work, involving into a teaching and learning plan, and becoming educational specifications or the recipe for design. Ultimately, we're looking to create the best environment for learning. I'd like to review the work that the committee completed in workshop number 1. We looked at learning context, and we had feedback from all of you. If you'll recall, we were looking at unique assets, features about the district and current middle school programs that are working and could be retained, challenges or features about the district and our current middle school that are not working and need to be fixed, opportunities or features that can be taken advantage of in a way that our school is currently not configured, and the culture of Alamogordo, the district, and the middle school age group of the community. Let's look at part 1, unique assets. What is working and should be retained in the new design? Here we've compiled all of the replies that we got on the survey into some categories where common answers came together. One of the top answers that we heard is that team areas that are organized by grade level are working well and should be retained. The music and art programs are excellent. Folks liked individual classrooms and the variety of electives offered. Natural light and windows was mentioned. Outdoor patios provided per grade level was a positive. Spacious campus with areas to play. Outdoor features such as basketball courts, track, tennis, and grass fields. Spacious athletic rooms and support areas. And that Chaparral is a walkable neighborhood school. Part 2 asked, what are the unique challenges? What needs to be fixed about Chaparral Middle School? Obviously, some of our answers reflect the older school and the need to update the school facilities. As we will be building a new campus, many of these areas will be taken care of in the new building and won't be an issue. One of the biggest issues that was mentioned was the limited access to technology, and that technology hasn't been updated. With our current state of affairs and virtual learning, we will obviously need to pay close attention to this issue. Patio and lunch break areas are too spread out and hard to supervise was mentioned. Safe entries and exits and the security system, accessible walks, stairs for disabled persons is not updated. A lack of adequate storage is mentioned. PE locker rooms outdated and old. Classrooms too small to accommodate students and not flexible. The discipline policy is inconsistent. Library and other common areas need to be centralized with outdoor access. Science rooms are outdated. The water system filtration needs to be updated. Water is not drinkable. Lack of parking, and a need for hands-on trades workspace. In part 3, we asked, about opportunities. What features cannot be taken advantage of as the campus is currently configured? The lack of updated technology limits program offerings. What's mentioned most frequently: lack of adequate performance areas, small group learning is hard to take advantage of in current configurations, science and computer labs are not offered or used in the way they were designed, the campus is not configured to support holistic learning, the gym is not configured for performances, acoustic issues were mentioned here. Current building configuration was in departments or a junior high model when the campus was built, which limits the teaming opportunities. I would think that we would be able to design in our new building a different configuration to accommodate teaming. Trades engineering programs are not able to be offered. We currently do not have enough variety for after-school programs, and athletic facilities are not updated and do not have good parking or access. In part 4, we asked about the culture that is unique to Chaparral Middle School. Some of the answers that we heard were student achievement and good behavior, innovation happening in the classroom, a culture of committed to student success, the school name and mascot, the separation of grade levels in teaming, the Southern New Mexico culture, the local Air Force Base brings in students not native to New Mexico. Middle schoolers are growing between children and teenagers and need opportunities for both. CMS is a diverse culture. Students have military parents often. The pride of neighborhood and community, and outdoor play and learning opportunities. From the 4 parts that we heard in learning context, we have compiled this list of top concepts for learning context. What we will ask you to do next is to look at these top concepts that are listed below and organize them by priority from top to bottom. The concepts that we compiled are grade level teaming and support areas for teaming, pride of neighborhood and community, outdoor play and learning opportunities, a seamless integration of robust technology, inclusion of areas for performance, state-of-the-art science labs, CTE and hands-on trades program offerings, athletic facilities, outdoor areas and support, flexibility of learning areas, upgraded library facilities and access, and performance and fine arts offerings. Next, we'd like for you to click or use the link below to go to a SurveyMonkey survey and rank these top concepts for learning context. When you finish, please come back to the presentation. Next, we'll be reviewing the learning process feedback that we had in virtual workshop number 1. As you recall, learning process is how learning happens. We looked at curriculum content, instructional methods, and assessment strategies. We focused on linking content, method, and assessment to the desired learning product or outcome. And we asked the question, what is the desired learning product or outcome? We looked at curriculum or content. We looked at instruction or method, and assessment, feedback. In this exercise, we asked, next-gen curriculum should be. These are the answers that we heard from all responses. Hands-on and virtual, accessible for all, communication-based, focus on standards, promoting active lifestyles, cross-disciplinary, solid core curriculum and foundation, emphasis on critical thinking, Exploratory are a variety of offerings geared toward the middle years. Collaborative problem solvers, technology-rich, hands-on and exploratory, authentic with real-life skills, problem or inquiry-based, relevant, career-based, promotes lifelong learning, builds social skills, promotes decision-making. Instructional methods should be, and these are the responses that we heard, based on learning styles, paced for a variety of student levels, hands-on learning through touching and doing, collaborative, project-based, creativity is emphasized, peer-to-peer, student-to-student, inquiry-based, utilizing the fundamental 5, flexible, exploratory, real-world skills and strategies, a safe learning environment, engaging learning environment, teacher as mentor, technology-centered, student-led. We also asked what the methods of assessment going forward should be. Learning from mistakes, self-assessment and improvement, formal and informal, immediate and useful, student projects and presentations, peer-to-peer assessment, verbal assessment, written assessment, digital assessment, exemplar evaluation, honest, ongoing assessments, short formative assessments, weekly checkpoints, organic and not industrial, oral presentations, discussion groups, analyze, evaluate, create to individually measure outcomes. Combining all answers from those 3 questions, we have compiled the top common concepts for learning process below. Creative, problem-based learning, differentiated, personalized learning, emphasizes social skills and critical thinking, hands-on, collaborative learning, relevant, real-world skills and strategies, technology-infused, utilizes the fundamental 5 for quality instruction, immediate, useful, honest, and ongoing assessments. What we would like for you to do next is to rank these top concepts for learning process by clicking or following the link below and ordering these concepts in order from top priority to lowest priority. Please return to the workshop when you finish. Presentation 1 for meeting 2. This presentation will be a virtual tour of schools throughout the country. We'll be showing you a number of schools that accommodate either K through 8 or middle school students. We'd like to show you some of the features that these schools have incorporated for next-gen learning. Please keep in mind that some of the schools you will see have higher budgets than we may have on this project, but that shouldn't limit our thinking as to what we would like to incorporate into this project. First, we'll look at Meadowdale Middle School. Meadowdale Middle School is in Linwood, Washington. This is a middle school designed around the teaming concept. You can see in this first photo that we have the classrooms on the left, and we have the circulation areas you see on the right. And we have some student work areas outside of the classrooms. The hallway area has been expanded slightly to accommodate some project-based learning, some student small groupings, informal learning space, etc. Here's another picture from a different angle. We're looking at the space right outside of the classroom. You can see here the classroom has visual or transparency into this learning area. The students can work individually in this area, both as small groups or at this countertop. Next, we're looking at a flexible lab that can be a STEM lab or a vocational technical space, or really any type of hands-on laboratory that we might program into the space. Highly flexible for use. All of the furnishings are movable. You can see here these tables can get moved around. These more industrial tables can also be moved around for floor work. Here we see, coming from the ceiling, electric power that can be flexible, moved on these reels back and forth here, and accommodate computers and industrial technical equipment, so forth. Down at the end of the room, you'll see an exit directly into an outdoor space and a larger roll-up door that'll accommodate larger equipment. At this school, they decided to use their front entry student commons as their dining space as well. So the space is used throughout the day. The entry to the school, the main entry to the school, is up here on this upper level. During the dining period, the students will eat down on this lower level. And we have walking levels all around the top on the second floor. Another view in that space is from the upper level. You will see that this cafe-style bench allows students to work individually throughout the day, in their break periods, after school, etc. And plenty of power is provided for the students for their laptops or other equipment. This space overlooks the actual dining area below, down here, where the students can see and be seen. Here's some of the organizational concepts that I'd like you to think about for Meadowdale Middle School. This is an active learning school where students make choices for their own learning. There's space for project-based or problem-based learning, student engagement and collaboration, student-directed learning. Community STEM partnerships are incorporated into this school. They have an integrated curriculum, innovative technology and freedom of technology by students having their own devices. This is an environmentally friendly, sustainable green campus. Personalized learning is incorporated. Inquiry and explanation and curiosity, creativity, and communication are emphasized. Next, we'll look at I.J. Holton Intermediate School. Going back to that picture, we can see that space in the lower picture where the students are able to hook up to the technology and utilize the board at the end of the room. Students can use their laptops freely on their laps while watching the presentation. Some of the other ideas incorporated into this school are interactive graphics. This is a tall wall that goes 2 floors and has some interesting facts incorporated into it for the students to see as they pass by. Other graphics here are incorporated throughout the school. You can see from the upper floor, and now we're looking at the 20-foot mark here, looking down into the lower floor. Some of the walls in this space are flexible. We can see here the flex walls that are incorporated, and the backing on the walls is actually marker board surface. So when they're closed, they can be used as marker boards, or they can be flipped open and the classroom can be accessible to the space. Here we have small flex group areas outside in the circulation for students to work together. Again, some of the ideas that are incorporated into this school are listed. You can see that an emphasis on collaboration and student engagement, self-directed learning is incorporated by using the indoor passing areas to their advantage rather than just having a passing area. They're using those as a place for students to do group work or breakout work. The next school, Duke School, is a different type of design than we most of the time see in schools. I'll point it out to you here. This is a concept design for grades 5, 6, and 7, 8, developed for Duke School in Durham, North Carolina. In this concept, all 4 grades work together in one large pod. So they may have multiple pods, like this one shown, where the grades can be mixed, or it can be 5, 6, or 7, 8, any way they want to do it. Here, all of the grades will share a central area. You can see in the center, in the yellow, a student collaboration area, a little cafe, and what you see in the tan are deck areas. These are outdoor deck areas where outdoor cafe seating or learning can happen. You can see the learning terrace there on the north side, another small learning terrace off of one of the advisory rooms. All of the rooms have advisory space, if not individual rooms. Here we see, for instance, in advisory 3, it's the size of a classroom. But advisory 1 and 2 combine to be a larger space, where 2 classrooms might be working in one space. We have a teacher collaboration area where teachers are able to do printing and other work that they need to do, small gathering area, phone calls, etc. And then we have support areas for this pod. We have a general learning studio, which might be a larger area for lectures and so forth. We have what's called an Einstein studio, which is like a small library. Socratic studio. And Da Vinci studio, which is a wet space, may be used for art or science, depending on what the teachers need to happen. I would emphasize that in this pod, all teachers work together to program the space weekly. Here in the Da Vinci studio, lab and wet activities or art activities happen. The advisory studio is somewhat of a classroom space that it allows small groups to happen, reconfiguration of the furnishings. These can be moved around at will. All of the larger pieces are also on wheels, and we do have on the sidewall some technology. In the Einstein studio, which is like a small library, the students can do individual work or access resource materials. This is a recap of some of the Duke School concepts. Again, realizing that at Duke School they are programming multiple teachers to work together in a pod where the space is freely flowing between all of the needs that they have throughout the day. So rather than having quote unquote my classroom, they have all the spaces to use together as a pod. Pioneer Middle School in DuPont, Washington is a school that's programmed into a neighborhood. Notice from the design that it is a neighborhood scale, looking somewhat like a house, a large ranch-style house, for instance. Here, when we look at the backside of the school, the classroom wings, which are 2-story, we see that they have featured a biking path. This is only for bicycles that come in and out of the neighborhood to provide alternate transportation for the students not coming into the front of the school where the buses are. You can see that each of the wings comes out providing natural light into all the classrooms. One other feature I would have you notice is that a lot of the natural landscape has been preserved here, allowing some of the natural vegetation to take hold. In between the classroom wings, we have an outdoor teaching patio and gardens that provide additional learning resources for science and health curriculum. Edible food and herb gardens provides separate to each classroom wing. Here is the exit from the classroom wing out onto the patio. And we can see that the gardens that the students are working on have been pre-programmed into this plan with infrastructure that waters the gardens, and it allows for maintenance to mow this central strip and get in there. Some of the features that have been used in schools like this are rainfall collection that comes from the roof, coming into a rain barrel and feeding these gardens. One of the features of Pioneer Middle School is that they wanted the entrance to be very clear as to where that is, and that's a great feature that we should incorporate into our school. Here you can see where the front door is pretty clear that you would follow this wall straight into the entry to the school. They've also displayed a bell that I have here in this little circle that came from the old school and brings a part of the history of their old school. On the upper level, the tree house, as it's called, is the library, referred to as the Tree of Knowledge. And it's seen from the second floor spine, and the students can see and be seen out the windows of the tree house into the circulation path. Here's a view of the entry to the tree house, which has a little bridge that leads into the tree house. So the library appears to float above the second floor and has no exterior walls, but natural light penetrates from three sides. You can see the entry right here. Materials such as stained wood beams and plywood walls with various shades and green fabrics and wall coverings create a natural atmosphere inside the Tree of Knowledge. Again, you can see that all the furnishings are flexible, can be moved around. In programming the space, the architect in the district thought about making sure that they provided furnishings that could be changed out periodically over time, so the colors within the treehouse could be different. At the end of each hall, project teaming areas are associated with the end of the classroom wing, allowing a lot of natural light deep into the corridors to create a cheerful place for small group exploration here at the end, or some individual work. You can see that tack boards are provided on the wall, and again over here, some whiteboards are provided for group work. The cafeteria at Pioneer Middle School allows for views into Gary Oaks and the surrounding savanna, so a lot of the natural environment is shown here in the windows. Additional counter seating for individual students is provided. And when we look at the seating for the school, all of it is concentrated on flexibility and small group opportunities. The Commons for Pioneer Middle School offers some carpeted seating areas and a large open center, which is the nucleus of the student life, social life within the school. The linoleum floor patterns provide wayfinding and enhance current teaching topics like planetary spacing, orientation, and metric or imperial measurements. Here you can see on the floor, you can see the steps where the students are able to sit and work individually, and you can see some bench areas provided here in the background. Lots of natural transparency to the spaces provided for supervision. Again, you can see some of the organizational concepts that were used within this school. The next school, Booker T. Washington, is a STEM academy, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And again, this is a K-8 school in Champaign, Illinois. Here, the school utilizes the circulation pattern, which is the walking hallways, to expand or provide additional space to the classroom. The classroom walls open up so that students can go back and forth within the space. You can see here in the background, the walls are folded. They are transparent walls that are folded against the solid wall. And you can see down at the end a classroom that has those walls closed to provide the teacher with additional programming opportunities should they need a closed classroom. Here along the exterior wall we see books shelving, and these books can be programmed by the media resource person, dispersed to each pod area and changed out regularly. Students can sit or work on these benches or on the floor as they choose. The next space is a flexible science room or STEM lab, depending on how they might want to use this space. You can see that the lighting here is a dropped lighting providing for task lighting. We have some areas where there are computers, but in general the lab tables are movable. We do have the fixed benches for wet lab activities here at the end. Another space which is adjoining the commons area here for flexible programming can use for a number of different things, moving this furniture around however they choose to do that. They have a movable display for showing teacher work. And again, some fixed cabinetry on the end with sinks and storage, hand washing, printers and so forth. This is an area that is adjoining the outside, so it might be adjoining one of those outdoor gardening areas and off of the main hallway here below. Here the dining area is adjoining the bus drop-off, so students can be dropped off in the morning and have their breakfast before going to class. The gym area is programmed with a vinyl floor covering and lots of markers on the floor for various games. The goals and so forth are flexible. At this academy, you can see the organizational concepts incorporated into this school. Colonel Smith Middle School, Fort Huachuca, Arizona. This is a newer school that was built within the last 10 years. Here at Fort Huachuca, the decision was made to have the flexible walls open up into a large commons area, which all 4 classrooms, you can see in the background there's one classroom here, one classroom here, and there are other classrooms in the foreground. 4 classrooms are served by this central commons area. All of the furnishings are movable, can be rolled around or moved out of the way, and then technology is provided on the end wall. You can see science lab space where the actual ventilation that we would normally see in a vent hood comes from above, and it's in a snorkel style. We can bring that down onto individual projects, or we can raise that up and just use the space for other things, which makes the science lab quite flexible for off days when we're not doing wet activities or activities with gases and so forth. Furnishings are movable, can be moved around in the space. On the outside walls, we have the fixed cabinetry and the sinks and so forth that wouldn't move around. And here are some of the ideas that were incorporated into Colonel Smith Middle School. Douglas Park School. in Saskatchewan, Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. Here we can see the courtyard space and the entry to the school. Like the Duke School, this school is utilizing all areas are using the commons and the common features. This is a K-8 school. We see over in the bottom right, we see the pre-K through 2 learning community here. We see the 3-5 here. Upper levels have the higher grades. We have the gym area, administration, media resource and developmental center. Then our commons area below. Just zooming in now on one feature of the commons area, you can see that this space can be programmed quite differently at all times, providing for performance area with foldable walls that track to one side, a retractable screen, which is hung from a divider above, digital whiteboards, power outlets located in the floor for flexibility. Book carts can be moved around on casters. There's a central area with movable furnishings and even movable whiteboards. These are some of the ideas incorporated into the Douglas Park School. The Caulfield Grammar School is the next school we'll be looking at. Again, a school designed around the idea of a pod space shared by multiple teachers. This is a school that is in Australia, a little bit different than our American schools in terms of dining and what is required for school lunchrooms and so forth, but somewhat interesting to take a look at anyway. Here, if you see up in the upper right corner, what we're looking at is highlighted in purple, and this is what is called the pit stop, which is an area for student storage and display, and it's for small group settings and with writable tabletop to assist in collaborative planning for projects. Here you can see this table is movable, and there's an area for the staff to sit down and work with a student individually. You can see the staff member here sitting at the countertop, kind of like your kitchen countertop at home, working with the student. We have some secure storage on the side. We have a kitchen bench for enabling the staff to student conversation. We have a print station behind, and it's adjoining this lounge area to the right. You can see highlighted in purple in the drawing up in the upper right that we have an interconnected area within the space for students to work at the pit stop or to do production work, or space used for media production, and storage along the walls. We have a workshop area where students can dig in and do a little bit more hands-on work. Again, the furnishings are movable. Cabinetry on the rear wall. Resource and student storage. And the workshop ceiling has acoustic baffles which drop down and power outlets to provide flexibility for multiple uses and additional acoustic treatment for noisy activities here. A small outdoor space is incorporated into this pod, which is actually a sort of indoor-outdoor space. It's a protective outdoor space for independent and small work. Has a translucent roof to maximize natural light. Outdoor tables and benches. a little grass hill for students to work individually. The kitchen table area, which is the center of the pod, has a visual connection to the lounge and the central hub spaces, a pen board, next to a meeting nook and launch pad area, and a kitchen table for students to work at. There is a presentation nook, which is a semi-screen space for small group discussion and presentation, and also supports independent study. There is a collaborative studio, which is an open learning studio to facilitate independent and interdependent group work, a diverse range of settings with technology available, a large screen and Apple TV to facilitate seamless connection with student devices and sharing here, writable walls at the end, interactive surface table. The launching pad is an area for student presentation and performance. Mobile furniture is included, can be moved around. The steps provide for a whole group gathering space for instruction and presentation or relaxed reading. The working walls are for brainstorming, storytelling, discussion of ideas. Here is a larger picture of that space. And here are some of the ideas used in Caulfield Grammar School. Hazel Wolf K-8 East is the next school we'll be looking at. This is a school that focuses on environmental STEM program, which is obvious from the main entry, where the living wall welcomes students and visitors on a daily basis. It is a teaching station in the school's curriculum and a reminder to all about the school mission and a learning opportunity for the community and parents while they wait to pick up their children. This is an urban school fitted into an urban slot site, so you'll see multiple floors and a tight indoor courtyard. You can see that building a school right up to the street, the designers decided to create one wall as a buffer to the arterial street so they could create some indoor courtyard play areas for the students. Here you can see the courtyard space that's provided to the students. They have sit spots, are designed to provide ample formal and informal learning opportunities for the whole class or small groups. And here they have campfire areas under a tree that provide for informal gathering, walking paths throughout the botanical garden. The site is an outdoor lab, can be used for supplementary activities to science activities. These areas are adjoining the classrooms from the campus. The courtyard area, as you can see, is surrounded by the wings of the school on the right and the left, creating an enclosed and secured space. We can see here that there's a number of different activities going on in this space. We have stairs for walking. We have large meeting stairs. We have a variety of activities. Here is a little rain runoff garden where we have catchment area for rain. We have a little hill space designed for students to run up in. Providing a play space for students, but also an area for instructional staff to use for teaching and learning. of native vegetation being planted here. This picture is when the school was new, so the vegetation is not mature yet. Lots of transparency from the inner classrooms into this area, providing natural light. You can see here the diagram of the courtyard is meant for soft play, individual space, presentation, storytelling, small group areas, hydrodynamics lab and rain garden area, reading and horticulture lab. The floor plans here show in green how we have incorporated outdoor space into each of the levels. Even though this is a multi-level school, we have green area on the lower level, green area on level 2, and an outdoor learning garden on level 3. What we see in light gray is science rooms on the upper floor, and classrooms for different grade levels on each floor. And we have learning commons that are incorporated into each floor. You can see outlined in red here, 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 here. You can see a picture here of a shared space for project-based learning incorporated throughout the building. Here's another picture of one of those informal spaces. They are connected to the classroom with visual transparency, presentation boards down at the end, space for informal seating here in the middle, perhaps small group breakouts or special ed, small groups to be pulled together, maybe a student who's doing some individual work or working with another instructor here. Again, all the furnishings are movable, and the flooring is quite flexible and can be cleaned and used for different activities. The central stairway is the vertical circulation space. In this school, they have created a mouth wall. You can see here. Lots of opportunities for the students to take a look at that. We have small group meeting areas under the stairs. And we have some learning opportunities on the upper wall. Here, the larger dining area cafe is designed with performance in mind at the end of the room. And the flexible lighting can be used for performance. Of course, it's used for dining throughout the day. And it's also used as a gymnasium area as well. It's a multi-purpose space. Here, the media center has flexible bookshelves. You can see are movable. It does have some fixed bookshelves on the end walls. Furnishings are also movable. You can see the organizational concepts that are incorporated into Hazel Wolf K-8 school. Carter G. Woodson Education Complex is in Dillwyn, Virginia. You can see the entry courtyard here in this photo. For a second, you can see where the instructional staff here is a highly flexible workstation, can be moved around throughout the space. One of the main features of this school is that they have incorporated a food smart environment, what they call a food smart environment, incorporating a kitchen garden into their cafeteria area, an outdoor and classroom dining terrace. They have a demonstration table to garden dining demonstration lab. Part of the kitchen staff's kitchen has transparency and where staff can demonstrate techniques to students. Have a great lawn area for large group play, a community meeting room for parents, and of course the dining commons and open servery there in the middle. Again, when you look at the dining experience, you can see that there's a variety of seating included, 2 tables, larger tables, small groups, and so forth throughout. The kitchen lab can be used for activities throughout the day, or a cooking club in the afternoon or on weekends. The food grown in the outdoor food garden can be utilized in this kitchen lab. Oftentimes we hear from kitchen staff, cafeteria staff, that they are not able to use the foods grown in school gardens because of federal guidelines. But in this school, they have created this kitchen lab for using those items that are grown in that garden and creating a garden to table experience for the students. You can see, looking out at the end here in the top picture, the outdoor garden and dining. And here they've created quite an urban dining terrace, which is pretty nice, with some writing walls and open to play areas out here, so forth. And here are some of the ideas that they have incorporated into their school. Throughout their school, they've incorporated ideas about healthy living and outdoor learning and the food smart environment. Next, we'll be moving on to the next part of our workshop, which is learning organization. And we'll be doing an exercise. Learning organization is talking about the organization of students, subjects, time, and settings. Your help in telling us your top ideas for these areas so that we can better organize the space that will be in the new school. For instance, when we're thinking about school organization and we think about students, we think about obviously class sizes. And we think about how do we want to group students in groupings of 30, small groups, large groups, individual, and so forth. Are we going to be working on team teaching? Will we be using personalized or student-driven learning? Will we need areas for students to meet informally and work on individual projects? We think, will we be organizing students by content areas, such as the junior high model, where we are organized around language arts and math and science and so forth? Will we be organizing by grade level or not grade level? Do we want to keep our possibilities open for having grade level versus not grade level? Will we be organizing by departments? Will we be organizing by career pathways? Will we be organizing by small learning communities? All subjects, ability level? Will we be looking at organizing by all girls, all boys? When we think about the organization of time, we need to think about these important areas. What type of after-hours access will we need for games, library, student clubs, organizations? What type of flexibility with time will we need? Will we be allowing students to pick their own start time? For instance, will there be an early start time and a later start time? Will we be thinking about year-round school or extended day? Will we be thinking about longer days, Saturday schools, evening classes? Will we be affording opportunities for individual flexible scheduling? When we look at the organization of subjects, we need to think about experimentation and discovery, critical thinking and problem solving, interconnectivity between subjects. Will there be disciplinary divisions or will they be integrated? Will we be career tech driven? Will there be a logical process sequentially ordered? Or will we be looking at relevant subjects, in other words, relevant to the work world? Or students learning by playing? And as we look at learning settings, we need to think about all of the descriptions that we would like to apply to every learning setting that our students could possibly have. Flexible settings, small learning spaces, whole group spaces, transparency between spaces, breakout areas, community use space, mixed use space, flexible, comfortable seating, agile spaces, able to be configured into many different activities, collaborative spaces, incorporating natural light, and outdoor learning as well. What are our options for that? Our next exercise will ask you to click the link below and complete the questions for learning organization. You'll be ranking the ideas that we're presenting to you for learning organization to see your top ideas in these areas. When you finish, please come back to the workshop. Learning environment. This is the introduction, and we'll be doing exercise number 6. For learning environment, we'll start making decisions about spaces for learning, sustainability, technology, equipment, and facilities. And we'll be using the information we've already gathered regarding learning context, your big visionary goals, learning process, and learning organization. We should also be thinking about all the settings in which a student learns, that is, the school, the home, public library, museums, community, and workplaces. It has become especially important in this year that we think about these settings and how we can continue to engage our students, even as we can't always have them in the school environment. We'll be asking you to describe the spaces for learning in terms of what will instructional staff need, what will community need, what will students need. We'll ask you to discuss technology and how we can integrate it into the learning environment, both in the school and at home, or perhaps in public parks or libraries or other public places. We need to describe the ways in which to incorporate flexibility and agility into the learning experience. Will we be incorporating ways for our students to choose their own learning environment throughout the day? And discuss community integration into the learning environment. How will we share our school with our community and integrate the community in a safe way into the learning environment? In the next exercise, please click or copy the link below and complete the questions for learning environment. When you finish, come back to this workshop. And this ends workshop number 2. Thank you for participating in this workshop. We appreciate all of the answers that you have provided. We especially appreciate your time in the small group work sessions that we worked on over Zoom. We have incorporated all of the comments as possible into our initial space plan for the school. And in the next workshop, we'll be sharing those spaces with you and having you work with us on functional relationships for those spaces. Again, I'm Molly Smith. Please note my email address below and contact me if you have any questions at all. And thank you for participating.